Recording in progress.
Good evening to this special EV Club of Connecticut event in conjunction with PACE. We have Stepwise tonight, and I'm going to make this a little interactive. I'll put in chat any URLs that our special guests refer to tonight, so you can follow along. We're going to start with a quick introduction. Jane is the CEO and co-founder, and Holly, Marketing and Strategy Officer. Both have been in the renewable energy space for a long time. Gina has more than 10 years experience with startups and electrification. Holly, similarly, renewable energy, sustainability, electrification for 20 plus years. Both have come up with a pretty interesting solution here, and my article that I'll share has a pretty simple picture of it. Something that goes next to your electric panel. What's exciting here is 100 people in Connecticut who are eligible could get these installed, where the device itself is free. So if you're doing a level 1 level and trying to upgrade to level 2, this is nice for you and probably why you're here. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to who's going first. Is it Holly or Jane?
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off.
Great.
Let me go into this. Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. Thank you, Paul and Barry, for having us here. And Jane and I are excited to be here and talk to you about this and get to hear your reactions and your thoughts. And we do want it to be really interactive. So as we go, we would love to take questions as we're going through it. And just to let you know, so I joined Stepwise. I'm not, Jane is a co-founder. I joined and have been working with them about 3 years. And what got me really excited about it is the accessibility and how it made electrification more accessible for people, even when it's not free. But we have this really exciting program in Connecticut, which we're going to talk about with you tonight. But I am really excited about what Stepwise is doing, and especially excited to be here to share it with you all. So we're going to talk today about how it allows you to future-proof your home, electrify today and future-proof for tomorrow, and then share with you the program that's going on specifically in Connecticut for Eversource and UI customers. So you've already met the two of us, but it's really nice to meet you. Here we are. We just happened to be in San Francisco at Climate Week. This is one of the electricians who came over to tell us that he had just done some installations and how well it was working for them. So you could see we're all pretty happy about it. So nice to be here, and it's really nice to be working with electricians on this solution. So to start it off, I have a couple of poll questions, and you can either take yourself off if you're not showing your photo and just raise your hand. You can do the little hand just to get a sense of where people are at. So we'll make our way down. So if you own one EV, if you would raise your hand. Okay, I see 3 hands. I think I saw 3 real hands. Plus, I think it was both a real hand and a fake hand. So I'm only going to count that once. So 3, is it 4? Anybody else able to see everybody? 5? I'm going to go with 5. 5-ish. Could be a little bit more because it's hard. You all are on my side while I'm looking at this. Does anyone own 2 EVs? Okay, we got a couple of those. Okay, great. Is anyone actively shopping for an EV? Okay, it looks like, or a little further away from actively shopping, considering it. So am I right to say that everyone on the call either owns 1 or 2 EVs, or did I miss somebody? Or is there someone who is just here and not even thinking about it yet? All right, I think we got.
Holly, we're seeing a few messages in the chat.
Oh, great.
A few folks both have an EV and are shopping for one.
Oh, great.
JE says he has an EV and a hybrid.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. A little hard to see while you have the thing up. So anyone please chime in. And then, so a lot of people already have it. So does anyone have a level 1 charger in the crowd?
Holly, when you say level 1 charger, do you mean anything more than a 120 volt outlet? I mean, an actual charger?
No, just meaning that you're sorry, that's a good way to say it, that you're basically just plugging it into a regular outlet in the wall, doing trickle charging or slow charging, whatever it's called. Okay, JE is in that bucket. Daphne is, John is. Okay, so we've got three. Oh, wait. I think I saw one more. Maybe Ryan?
I was going to say I have a portable one just in case, but I also have a level 2 at my house. So I have both.
Ah, okay. So let's switch to level 2. Who's got a level 2?
And if
Oh,
anyone
level 2.
hasn't spotted, the raise your hand. It's under the React button in Zoom. If you're not familiar with Zoom,
Oh, thank you for doing that, Paul, for
no
explaining that.
problem. I'm watching the chat here too. And
So I think I saw 2 level 2s.
I think maybe 3.
Okay. And then of those, anyone participating in your utilities managed charging program? I see a nod no. I see a thumbs up from Ryan. Ryan, you're in it?
Yes, I am.
Great. So is Barry and Dwight. So we have 3.
I am too.
And Paul.
2 EVs enrolled.
Excellent. Is anyone in a situation where they're only using public chargers?
Hmm.
In my research, it's been quite interesting. Some people, when they first buy, especially try to make that work. A lot of people don't survive unless they're not driving a lot.
Yeah.
I think Dwight, Barry, and Jeremy, is anyone there using public chargers only? I think
J.E. Martin commented
Yes,
only public
I only use public chargers.
Oh, okay, great. Is that because you don't drive that far?
It's because that's all that I have available. I live in a condo unit.
Ah,
Sorry
okay.
for the background noise.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
Yeah,
Okay,
you sound
great.
great.
Jeremy, that might be really good. We could also, talk about some specific stuff with multi-unit opportunities, depending on yours, because we do help with that. So we'll bring that up, and you can ask specific questions if you want.
Hey, Holly,
Holly?
that's a hot topic here in Connecticut right now. So
Excellent. Let's talk about it. I love talking about hot topics. So that'd be great. I actually, Barry, based on you asking me pre-questions, we have a slide on it. So, because I did know that you had an interest in it. I didn't realize it was more universally. So we love to talk about that. So that'd be great. All
Holly,
right.
we have one more comment. So we have one person saying has a hybrid, but only public for EV. So that's J.E. Martin.
Okay. Okay, great. So so today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about load management, which I guess we could do another poll on who has even ever heard of that. Just real quickly, is load management? I see one hand saying a yes, 2, and a thumbs up. Another one. Okay, so there's some familiarity with the term, which is great to have a mixture of people because it's also great for us to understand where the questions are depending on where you are in getting exposed to these things. We're going to talk about what it is, what the benefits are, and then we're going to talk about this special Connecticut program because it relates to a load manager, which is what Stepwise has developed. So the reason why we're here talking about this is the overarching thing is that when people go to install an EV charger or a heat pump, sometimes when the load calculation is done or the electrician shows up, they'll say, I can't install it. I have to increase your service. I have to upgrade your electric panel. And this can range anywhere from $5,000 to 10 to 15. So it is a large expense. And it is kind of the default right now, or it has been. But there is another way, which is what we're going to talk about, because right now, Connecticut families and homeowners across the country are paying thousands of dollars for what are unnecessary electrical upgrades every year. And so we're really addressing this issue and this barrier to EV installers and also additional electrification. Jane, did you want to add anything to that before I move on to the next one? No?
Nope,
Okay.
I am good.
So this is sort of, and I don't know if anyone here in the room, in the Zoom room, has run into this where one of the reasons they haven't upgraded from a 1 to fast charging is because they didn't want to pay the extra expense. You know, they were thinking maybe $1,000 or $1,500 to get a charger installed, and then the electrician comes in, all of a sudden it's a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 plus job. So basically, and the other issue is that from the utility perspective, sometimes depending on the service upgrade and what's going on in your neighborhood, you may have to get utility approvals. It's a lot more complicated. So that's why we want to talk today about this other way of going about it and not having to do unnecessary upgrades. So Jane, I'll pass over to you now.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, before we get into the solution and the alternatives, I want to spend a few seconds just making sure that you guys have a little bit of an understanding of the landscape of why this problem exists and why there are alternatives. A lot of it comes back to the fact, you know, that this really important box, it's like a junction box to literally everything in your home and how it draws electricity, is pretty dumb. So there's no visibility, there's no control, and for the most part, we've just made a set of rules, the National Electric Code, that's extremely conservative in how it estimates the way people use electricity, all because of what I said. There's no visibility, and so we just have to assume the worst case. And that's a reality around why we tend to default to the upgrade and why this entire system is pretty conservative and not really optimized in its current state. Now, Holly, if you go to the next slide, what's been really interesting is that through a combination of Stepwise's own research, as well as research that's been presented out there, we have shown that there is more room in the panel than you think in terms of electric capacity. So as we know, an average kind of older home typically has 100 amp panels. And when you look at 12,000 homes across the country, Lawrence Berkeley National Labs also saw that the average home at its max is using less than 40% of that capacity. And so the fact that we continuously have to upgrade is demonstrated to actually be extremely unnecessary most of the time. But we only can say that when we know exactly what the energy usage is. So Holly, if you just click one more, you know, this is again just showing that there's more room than you think, but only if there's visibility and controls. And this is where Stepwise comes in. So going to the next slide, I want to introduce this concept of load management, which is really a right-sized way of using our infrastructure, and it's a smarter way. An analogy I like to use here is, you know, the traditional status quo of upgrading infrastructure is almost like widening the road. So you have a lot of traffic on a highway, and when you see rush hour, you're like, oh my God, let's just build a bigger road so now we can get more cars during the rush hour. Well, we're kind of doing that similar thing in the home. Even though the panel itself does not use electricity at all hours of the day across all of your appliances, we are consistently upgrading and widening the electric infrastructure. That's what's causing all of this cost and delays. With load management, we're essentially doing a better job of managing the traffic. So in other words, we know that most of the time your appliances can be used at different times. And in fact, if we have the data and we have a little bit of control, that can almost be done in a seamless way. So think of load management as a traffic controller for managing the traffic that replaces the need to widen the road. All right, click one more. And this is just to kind of show you what our product looks like. We kind of joke that it's like a black box, but the concept is actually simple, and we'll make sure you understand how it works before we leave this session. So just to illustrate kind of what it would look like in the home, if this is your panel, this device, the Stepwise Tap, sits in between the electric panel and an appliance of choice. So really think of it as an addition to the electric panel. You don't have to replace the panel, but it's a retrofit addition, and it adds a bit of intelligence and visibility to how your panel works. So the device is monitoring the total usage of the panel, which means that as you're turning things on, if you just click Ollie, this is just an example illustrating all the different use cases. Now, in the current state without the tap, you might get into a scenario where everything is on and now, the car charger or something big is now exceeding the limits. With the tap, once it's in, you can see that it basically dials down the EV charger, or it can turn down or turn off one deprioritized appliance. By doing that, it's essentially monitoring everything and ensuring that everything stays within safe limits. I know the animation happened pretty quickly, but all of this is to illustrate that the device is happening automatically in the background, so you don't have to worry. And usually, since we're in a forum talking about EV chargers, one of the best use cases for this device is attaching it to an EV charger, because for an EV charger, we can actually not just turn off the device, but we can dial down many of the models that are a bit smarter, so that overall you're able to charge, but it doesn't influence your kind of experience. And it ensures that you're always within the limits of the panel, which is what allows you to avoid the need for an upgrade.
And I was going to add
Let me know if
that,
anyone has questions.
Oh, I was going to add it. There might be a question. I was going to see if someone's hand was still raised from before, but to the earlier point that Jane made is it will only dial down if it needs to. And per the earlier information Jane shared, in a lot of homes that never becomes necessary, but it is there if it's needed and it keeps it within code. I saw someone's hand was up, but I don't know if it was from the voting before. Okay, I don't see a hand now. Are there any questions in the chat or anything?
Yes. Go ahead, J.E. Martin, or someone else. J.E. Martin, I think I had it first. If you want to unmute.
I'm not sure I'm smart enough. So you're saying right now I could plug I have a ID Buzz from Volkswagen, and I probably could plug it in through my dryer thingamajig, whatever. But you're saying that I could do this gadget that you have and just plug it into a regular outlet and it would behave itself through the management by your device? Like I don't have to upgrade my panel.
That's correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it would be fast. Can I put a level 2 though? Can I
Yes.
Up the ante? Okay.
You can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good clarification, because for the EV charging use case, we can actually control not just the EV charger, but an outlet that the EV charger is plugged into. So yeah, you can add basically a new outlet, use our device, and everything will be managed in the background, and you could get access to fast level 2 charging. Fantastic.
Was there anything else before we go on?
So I just was curious if this program is only for homes with 100 amp panels. I got disconnected for a minute, so I may have missed that.
No, it's not. It's for anyone, really. And actually, we're going to get into this, in terms of who the program is for, who is eligible. But to answer your question, no, it does not matter what your amperage is. What it's doing is allowing you to get access to EV charging. It allows your home to be future-proof for the electrification that you need.
Yeah, understood. So just real quick, I have 200 amp service, 100 amp sub panel. The car that I currently have now is capable of doing 19.2 kilowatt charging. So that needs a 100 amp circuit just for the car. And shopping for a second car that would do the same would be an additional 100 amp circuit, right? On a 200 amp panel, which is why this really intrigues me.
Yeah, that's a great use case. I think it's in particular for households with 2 EV chargers, because you're absolutely right, Ryan. Each EV charger is huge in terms of its draw. And in fact, it's probably the biggest load that you're adding to your home, period. So that's why utilities are very interested in EV chargers. One thing I will just note is our device is capped out at 60 amps. So in other words, we would have to, kind of slow the charge of that charger to 60 amps, but we're able to allow both chargers to access 60 amps. I just wanted to add that one small caveat.
Understood.
Okay.
Great.
And so this is actually a good segue. So I want to make sure that we all understand how the product works, not just the hardware itself to enable that initial install, but I really want to emphasize that this is a smart device. So in other words, our goal is not just to help you make this one-off installation happen, but really to allow your home to be future-proofed for all of your needs down the road. And the reason we can do this is because the hardware itself allows you to instantaneously add that first appliance. It could be an EV charger or something else. Once the device is installed, we're essentially collecting energy data, which becomes a true load profile for how much your house is drawing. I mentioned earlier that the electric panel is extremely dumb and there's no visibility. And so this piece adds a lot of visibility for planning your future in a code compliant way. So that means once we baseline the amount of energy your home is actually using, over time, that could become proof that you would bring to an inspector, to an installer, to add in a heat pump, to add in a water heater, or potentially any other appliance that you want to include in the house.
It looks
And I know,
like
Barry, you have
Barry.
your hands up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify how this would work if you have two chargers. Can you handle two chargers with one device?
It's possible, yes. The way you could do that would be either attaching the Stepwise Tap to a sub-panel and then connecting two different chargers to a sub-panel. Or you could, I mean, there are a lot of models of chargers out there that actually come with two different charging cords. And so you could just attach like a bigger charger that allows you to access two different charging ports at the same time. The other way you could do it is just control one and allow the other one to be prioritized. So depending on how you do the load calculation, there's a couple of different arrangements that could work. Does that answer your question, Barry?
Yes, it does. And then I know you're going to get into this, but I want you to talk about who you're looking for to get into the program, right? Ideally, it would be somebody who says, I want to install a charger and and they know they don't have room. But as you say, the panels are dumb and people don't know what kind of room they have. And the other point you made is future proofing. So, so who do you actually want to get into this pilot program?
Yeah, we're going to go over that. I think quite a few people, we'll see if we leave anyone out. I think there's a lot of people based on my survey at the beginning that are going to fit. Because you can even be in the managed charging program right now and you would still qualify for the program. So a lot of good news and then like we said, you'll have it working again with the managed charging program. You'll be set up for future additions and getting this insight into your panel. But yeah, we'll get into that. And I also want to add that another thing is, Barry, with your question, the Stepwise team is really good. So we work with electricians. We will help them on specific installations if they have questions to also help them to make sure that they're doing the best configuration. Although we have a lot of people now in Connecticut who have done a bunch of them. So, all right. So I think that we're good to move on to answer your next question, unless there were any other questions before I get into it. Okay, so this program is for Connecticut EV owners. It gives you access to faster charging. So again, what the program does is it will install, you get our Stepwise device for free, and you get the installation. If you need a charger done, that is not included in this program. That would be what you would pay for, or if you happen to qualify for some other program, that would work. But this program that we're talking about does the load manager and the installation of it. So you get faster AV charging, you get access to additional savings through Eversource and UI managed charging programs. And the other really great thing about Stepwise is it unlocks the managed charging program for all charger brands. Before this came along, it was limited to certain products. So if that was an issue getting in people's way, you now are able to access the savings that the utilities offer, regardless of what other product you want to use. As Jane shared, it gives you future proofing for additional electric appliances. You want to go get your hot tub next? We're heading into hot tub season. There you go. And the other great thing is this program doesn't have an income level threshold, so it's available to anyone regardless of their income level. So if this is you, you're a fit for the program. I'm planning to install a charger at my home. I have a level 1 and would like to upgrade to a level 2. I have a level 2 charger. I have a level 2 charger and I already participate in my utilities managed charging program. And there may be others that I didn't list here. And we just thought this would be a great opportunity if anyone felt that they were not included in this, that they could let us know and we could help them to evaluate if they would qualify. Is there anyone who doesn't meet one of these on the list? Maybe that's a good way to go about it. I see no hands up. Okay.
Hey, Holly, I'm sorry. This is J.E. Martin. I apologize.
No, go
I
ahead,
can plug
please.
things in, and that's about it. That's about as much as I know about electricity. So, do I have to install? So right now, and my charging cord is not that long, so I have to figure out how to do that. But could I use your product to what you said earlier? Just sort of install. I'm going to call it a dryer plug on my front porch so that I could plug in my car. Does that count? Even if I don't install a quote unquote charger, I would just use the equivalent of level 1, but it would be somewhat faster than just a regular plug.
That is a
And
question.
if that's a dumb question, then you can say
no, that is not a dumb question at all. And that is really,
you would never do that. So
no, that's all good because, it seems less, technological. We're sort of making it join the party. So Jane, can you answer the question though, that if it's a 240 volt and then the plug would be, I think it would be a faster plug, wouldn't it?
I think she said she plugged into a. I was going to say, I think she said she plugged into a dryer outlet at some point, which would be 240, right? So I think she's asking, can she install an additional 240 outlet on the outside of the house and manage it with this device, which I believe would be yes.
Yeah, and I think I was trying to answer this earlier, JE, because you can really view the 240 volt outlet with the plug-in cord the same as a level 2 charger. It's just maybe a little bit dampened in the total amperage it draws. So yeah, you can view it the same way in terms of how it's be managed, and that would absolutely qualify. And as one of the perks as well, because traditionally that would not qualify for managed charging, but in this case, you would not only be able to install it with our device, but you could also qualify for managed charging.
okay, thank you. My brain is processing that, but
problem.
Okay, thanks.
Andrew has a question.
Feel free to ask again.
Hi.
And Andrew, go ahead.
I got a question. I think what a lot of people on here are asking is if they're getting 2 cars, it's going to be split. If I understand this correctly, it's 60 amps. I'm assuming that's going to be 30 amps per car.
It kind of depends on how you set it up. Normally, the easiest way would be 60 amps. Like it would just be one car that is charging at a time, that is prioritized over the other. If you wanted to, it could also, help to split the charge between the vehicles. I think the way I have seen it most commonly be done in the field is have the 2 chargers come off of a small sub panel that's controlled by the tap. That's the cleanest way to do it, because then it always ensures one is turned on over the other. If that makes sense.
Now, so basically you're prioritizing one. So at a maximum of 60 amps per car. When that car's done, it'll then switch over to the other car, a maximum of 60 amps or what the car is asking for. Okay. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
No problem.
So I'd love, Andrew, what is that what you would want to have happen, or what's your reaction to that?
It's an interesting product. It's a good bullet in the case for certain situations. I could totally see this happening. It's obviously not for everybody, but for a lot of people that only have 100 amp service. And this is a key point that you guys don't actually mention. You actually have to have access to the panel.
Yeah.
I know some people that don't have access to the panel on the other side of the house. And it would cost them a fortune to get that.
Oh, Deb, can you unmute,
Sorry.
please? Thanks. I think it's Deb. I'm not
Sorry.
doing.
But yeah, if you have access to the panel and you have a 100 amp service, you could save some money theoretically using this product. So you can save costs so you don't have to actually up your panel and stuff like that. It is for certain people in certain situations. Yes, I can actually see this as being a viable option for people. Yes.
And Andrew, your point around not accessing the panel, do you just mean if the panel is really far away from the driveway, let's say it's on the other side of the house, it would still require a lot of wiring?
Exactly. I know somebody specifically that the panel is next to impossible from the garage, and for them to get it to the garage would be a fortune. So, but everything that you said, this shows that it needs access to the panel. So, yes, hopefully, most of the people that are that would be available to this, they'll have the panel in a place that is readily accessible to the garage.
Yeah, I want to add the point earlier about the dryer outlet is actually a really good one for this use case. And this is maybe not the most aesthetic way of doing it, but there are people who face that problem where you would have to trench long distances. It's just really costly. You can put a dryer outlet on the outside of the house as close as you can get and use very long extension cords to get access to the car. That is one thing I have seen. It's not the most aesthetic, but it certainly still saves a lot of money.
All right. Okay. So we thought we would show a multi-unit installation. So this, in a lot of cases, avoids big additional costs and time delays. So, and when it's set up like this, each unit can participate in the managed charging program. So we would probably just have to take a look at the individual one just to confirm that they could each participate. It depends on how the system is set up. I mean, that's specific to managed charging and this program in Connecticut, but the system works in this situation where you have multiple units and they want to each be able to do fast charging.
Is that a cellular
So
antenna I see on top there?
it is not. It is a Wi-Fi antenna.
What happens if a customer doesn't have Wi-Fi?
Good question. So the device works with or without Wi-Fi, first and foremost. As a hardware device, it is able to, still independently track energy usage and control the load. With Wi-Fi, it basically just has some additional smart features like dimming the charger and tracking the energy so that you can see it on an app. It can then also receive over-the-air updates. For a lot of these types of scenarios, there is a way of setting up Wi-Fi extenders so it can reach. But again, if you don't want to go through the hassle of that, it can still work without Wi-Fi.
Gotcha. Not that I don't know too many people without Wi-Fi, but got to ask these questions.
Of course. These are great questions. And I'll just add that in this particular example, just so people can picture the use case a little bit more, this is a 20-unit building where we had installed 2 different taps for 2 different EV chargers. And the point here is that, typically you have common meters or a common panel and you have individual panels in the apartment. In this case, there's a common garage with individual kind of meters and panels for each of the units. So you can trace back to, who's paying for what. And what we did was just install the device off of one of those meter mains. And that way you can tie the device and the EV charger to the individual homeowner. And you could do it in a way that avoids upgrades for everybody in the building. So now each individual is just in charge of the cost of the individual project.
It looks like Barry has a question.
Yeah, I have. I just want to be clear about this MUD slide. So it's saying that you can do it in this circumstance, but are people living in this kind of situation eligible to be part of the pilot or not?
Yes, they are.
Yes, so they would be eligible for the pilot. The only small caveat is it depends on whether they can enroll in managed charging specifically.
Okay,
and
so
that's only because of how the utility meters are set up.
Right, okay. Thank you.
All right. So here's what you get if you enroll in the program. As I mentioned before, you get the Stepwise Tap, you get the installation, which then means you get level 2, the access to level 2 charging without upgrading your panel. You get compatibility with any EV charger brand, and you also get eligibility for the Utility Managed Charging Award Rewards program. And so the way that it works is you sign up for the program. An electrician completes the installation and the commissioning, which is the part Andrew was asking about. The connection to Wi-Fi is what then gives you access to the managed charging program. And then you get fast charging right away as soon as it's installed. You create your account for managed charging, and then in November you'll start to be enrolled in the managed charging program, and the payments will commence. I would assume that if you are already in the program, you will continue to get your, there will be no gap. So there are a bunch of people who already are enrolled, so this gap wouldn't be relevant for you. It would be for people who aren't in the program yet. What I thought would be good today is actually, Jane, do you mind putting the link to the sign up in the chat? And
Yes.
so this is all on the site. It just says you complete the enrollment form. It's pretty fast. You're welcome to do it tonight while we're here if you have any questions about it. You can either say what electrician you want. I'll show you the list of them. If your electrician that you love is not on our list, have them reach out to us. We are happy. It's a short process for them, as if they're an electrician. It is not a complicated process for them to get certified. We just have to have them go through a little bit of education. And then, so either you can say you're bringing in one, or you can ask us to connect you with one of the electricians in the program. And then you go through the process that we just talked about. So as long as you're in Eversource or UI territory, and I think what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and actually share. I'm going to switch and show the web page, the website. So here it is, the link that Jane just put in. That's familiar now, as is this. And then here's the information on how the program goes. You would just give this little bit of information, which utility you're in, what's your current status. And then if you make your way all the way down, here's a list of certified installers that we have currently. And that's all of the information. Did anyone have any questions about that?
How long has the product been available?
For almost 2 years in the market. We've been around for 3.5 years, but the product has been in the market for almost 2.
If
And
there's I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and it's installed in about 30 states. I think we're at 28.
If somebody has an issue or a problem, do they contact you or they contact the electrician? Who's the point of contact should an issue arise with the unit?
They contact us. I would say in most cases, a lot of homeowners will contact their electrician first, but we always then get that follow-up call if the electrician can't resolve it. So we're always available for support.
Thank you.
Ryan has a question.
Yeah, I put it in the chat as well. I have a 60 amp charger now. Like I said, I'd love to go to 100 amp. I know your product only does 60. With a lot of modern EVs moving to that new architecture that can charge at 80 amp, right, requiring a 100 amp circuit. Do you guys have plans to come out with something that can do that?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have definitely heard that from a number of folks in the market. It is on the roadmap, although I cannot necessarily guarantee when it's going to be released. And the reason is because we would have to go back through UL certification and a lot of the safety certifications that we initially went through. And so that does become a bit more of an extensive kind of hurdle from a timeline perspective. So I can't guarantee it, but it is on our roadmap.
Yeah, understood. I mean, it looks awesome. I think it fits my needs, but I don't want to take up a spot, also limit myself to 60 amps. Although I don't know if my panel can do 100 amps right now, to be honest with you, with the amount of power I draw. Another question, how does solar affect this or the install at all? Because I have full solar as well.
Yeah, good question. We have a lot of customers that also have solar in their home. And so the way it would work right now is there's a setting that allows us to pick up on the fact that there is solar so that this device and the EV chargers are able to operate in that scenario. We do have a feature on our roadmap where we can try to time solar with EV charging, in some states, especially on the West Coast, where people want to make sure they're using up the solar energy first. So that kind of timing is possible in the future, and it would just be a kind of a scheduling thing. For now, it works perfectly fine in homes with solar and can ensure that everything works together seamlessly.
Got it. Yeah, time of day charging doesn't matter to me because the Eversource program makes you charge off hours anyways, which is at night and there's no sun, so solar doesn't matter.
Right. I figured this is a bit more of a West Coast feature. And Ryan, I was going to add to your point about having 2 EV chargers and having a really large charger, you could consider keeping one at 100 amps and keeping the other at slightly lower, let's say 60 amps. That way you have one that's priority over the other and you still get both.
Yep, no, that's fair. Thanks, Jane.
No problem.
Barry has his hand up.
Yes, could you put your form back on the screen and
Yeah.
scroll to the part where it asks for your status? So this isn't exactly the same as the other slide, right? Because if you already have a charger and you're already in managed charging, so these options don't cover that.
Oh, that is a good point. So you're saying if you're already in the managed charging program and you already have you're not upgrading.
Right. I mean, if you go to if when you showed that slide with the check boxes,
Yep.
right, that was a scenario that was acceptable to you, but that's not
Yes.
reflected here.
It's a good point. So it is acceptable. We should update this, Jane, perhaps. But for people who want to sign on today, what would you suggest? What box should we check?
Just say upgrading and existing. Just upgrading and existing. This does not actually change your eligibility, just to be clear. This is actually a question that the utility wanted us to track so they knew what people's statuses were.
And I went through it. If you click upgrade an existing charger, it then asks you as well if you're already enrolled in the managed charging. So I think
great.
there you go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ryan.
There we go.
And sorry, this is J.E. Martin again. Managed charging is something that the utilities, that's a program for them? Or am I missing that? That's
Yes.
what you all call your program.
No, so that is separate. Like it enables you. It's what we're installing gives a lot of people a pathway to managed charging. Managed charging is a program offered by Eversource and UI. Each of them offer it, and it gives you money back for actually, Jane, you may know the exact mechanism of how it goes, but you're getting basically a discount for charging, I guess, at the time of day that they would like you to charge. Jane probably knows more about this than I do.
Yeah, I think you get it for off hours and those kinds of things. I have a friend that has that. I didn't realize what it was called, but she has Eversource, and I didn't even think UI offered it. So that's good news for me.
Great. Oh, I'm glad that you became aware of it through this.
And Jane, I think you said earlier that the electricity companies or the providers are interested in this. I assume because they want to level load, sort of, having all of us with EVs charging at night, as Ryan noted, versus at 3:00 in the afternoon in July. Is that why they offer that program?
That's exactly it. Yeah, and just to offer everyone a bit more context in the program, the reason why the utilities are supporting this, and we're essentially funded by a utility program here, is because A, they're trying to get more people access to EV charging because they're encouraging EV adoption. And secondly, for anyone who's enrolled, they want a better pathway to getting more people into managed charging. Because I think they're aware that adoption rates are low, possibly because it's difficult, people don't know about it, there's incompatibility, etc. So we're looking to help refine the pathway to enrollment.
And then I wanted to make sure, are there any other questions we didn't address in the chat? Somebody wrote, I think here in Connecticut, we have a massive duck curve issue, so I'd like to charge in the middle of the high solar day. So. this
Yeah,
is
and
more
my only
common.
comment to that, Bernard, is because of the way the managed charging program is structured right now, you actually are incentivized to charge not during the middle of the day, but during their off-peak hours, which happens to be later in the day. I think in the future, they will hopefully update the program to take into account what you're saying. But I think they're not quite that sophisticated.
And I
Well,
would add in Connecticut's one-to-one net metering, so it probably truly doesn't matter. If you're not charging during the
Fair.
day and you're making excess, you're metering, you're giving all that credit back to Eversource. So when you charge at night, you're getting it back at the same rate anyways.
That is a great point.
We also have an explanation of the managed charging program on the EV Club website, if anybody has any other questions, because there are 2 levels of participation.
Thank you, Barry. That's great. Yeah, so
That's an
also
interesting install directly off of a meter box.
yeah, this is kind of, and also this is to show that it works inside and outside.
Do you guys do that for to Andrew's point? Some people may not have access to the box. Could you install that right off the meter box or no in Connecticut?
Oh, that's what you were saying.
It depends on. Yeah, okay. Now I understand your question. Sorry, I did not quite understand that earlier. You can't actually, to be clear, you can't install it off of the meter. In this case, it's actually a meter main. So this is a little bit different because this individual contraption has the meter component up top, and it has a kind of a panel arrangement on the bottom. And the
Understood.
reason that there's a small delineation here is because the meter is owned by the utilities. So you can't open it and easily get access to the meter. So it kind of depends on the setup for the house. And that's something we can take
Focus
on a
on this
case by
part.
case to make sure that we can help as many people as we can. It's a good call out.
I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I get people to ask me.
Please.
I'm sure this is a future thing, but if somebody wants vehicle to grid, will this support vehicle to grid in the future?
To be honest, we don't prevent vehicle to grid. I think your point is that there's a lot of chargers and vehicles that are starting to open up vehicle to grid, but it's not yet widely available.
Oh, so this is just a pathway. There's no impedance. So if you have an EVSE and the utility and everything jives up, this is not an impedance to vehicle to grid at all. Oh, cool.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So in other words, we can say we enable it today, but the reality is just a lot of people don't actually have vehicle to grid.
Well, yeah, that's true too. I mean, but I get that question every now and then. Actually, a little more often now. The more that utilities incentivize it, I get that question now. It's like, hey, will this do vehicle to grid? And I was like, you got to make sure all the pieces line up if you're going to be able to do that. And putting this piece in the middle, if this is just we'll quote pass-through piece, then that's cool, great, thank you.
And
yeah. Think of it as a relay, really. So it's just cutting off power, but it doesn't prevent the flow.
Cool.
I've seen some interesting things, Andrew. People put meter collars on, and then they put like a solar generator battery in between the meter collar in a truck, and they have chargers that'll do vehicle to grid through that to charge a battery, then from the battery into the meter collar. And that's how they're doing it. It's crazy.
Sounds a little Rube Goldberg to me, but okay.
Works.
Yeah, that's really complicated.
so I guess if anyone has anything that they feel would be getting in their way of jumping in, please let us know. Obviously, share with people who you think would benefit from this. We have the program, we have until end of October, early November to use the units that we have through the program to get them placed in people's homes. So we would love for all of them to find happy homes, since we feel obviously that this is a great way for people to manage and get get more electrification going on. So keep all of that in mind. This is the sign up URL. If you want to scan it, which is kind of hard to do from the screen, you can do that. And it looks like Kenneth has a question.
Yeah, I asked it late in the chat. I just want to confirm I've got 200 amp service with a 100 amp sub panel in the garage charging two EVs off of one EVSE. So it doesn't sound like this actually provides me any benefit based on what I already have.
I would say one thing it could do is, actually there's two things it could do. One is if you wanted to install a second EV charger for your home so that each car has an EV charger, that's one thing we could allow you to do. The second thing is if you have any plans to further electrify your home and you want a true load baseline so that you can plan accordingly, the device could also open up that door so that you could, do a little bit of future proofing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the sub panel, the 100 amp sub panel actually has two circuits that are 50 amp each. So we've planned for two chargers, but we found we only actually need one we swap them between cars, so we actually don't need a second car. So, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And I think Holly mentioned this earlier, but this device doesn't just work for EV chargers, right? It can allow you to add any other 240 volt appliance. So just keep in mind that in the context of this presentation, we talked a lot about EV charging, but this could work just as well for your hot tub, your pool heater, your heat pump, kind of you name it.
Yeah, we've already got a heat pump on our system as well. So I think because our service is 200 amp, it just doesn't have much benefit for us. Okay.
Noted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the similar boat, Ken, but I want to go to 100 amp charger on multiple EVs. So,
Yep.
basically
Right.
200 amps across two EVs with a 200 amp service. That's where I think
Yeah.
it makes sense for me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan, are you able to install even two 60 amp chargers right now on your current system?
It'd be I don't know. That's the question, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm like Ken, right? 200 amp service, 100 amp sub panels, heat pumps. I'm fully electric, everything, heating, gas,
Mm-hmm.
water, with solar. Like I basically have a net zero bill today. I want to go
Mm-hmm.
to,
That's awesome.
I want to go to the 100 amp on the EV that supports it, right? It's got modern architecture. It supports 19 kilowatt charging. But then
Mm-hmm.
and my wife is fallen in love with the EV, so now we're shopping for a second one, and that's where I'm like, I don't know if I could
Right.
put that much power drawing to two cars at the same time,
Yeah.
or with a
Because
heat
just
pump
hearing your
running and everything else.
scenario,
Yeah,
right? Because just hearing your scenario, right? A 100 amp sub panel does not add extra capacity. You're still dealing with the 200 amp capacity constraint.
yeah, 100%.
And if you have a heat pump, I'm sure you have other base loads. I'm sure your house is at least average sized. If you have two EV chargers, there's a pretty high chance you're probably going to face the I don't have enough capacity scenario. So I'm only putting this kind of on your radar because I think you have the perfect scenario to enable a second EV charger. If you were like Kenneth and you absolutely only want one charger, then I would say, yeah, that's fair. I don't know that we can enable you to add something else if you're not trying to add anything else. But if you are adding a second EV charger, I think this is a great solution.
Yeah. And to your point, like I know I have load, I average probably 60 to 70 kilowatts a day, just normal. When I'm charging, my daily usage is in the hundreds of kilowatts.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay. So I think we're at our time, or just about. So Paul, I'll hand it, and Barry, hand it over to you. And I think we answered all of the questions, but
Yeah, skimming through the chat, I think you did. But if someone did not get their question answered from the chat, this would be a great time to unmute and let us know.
And I was going to add, I can also put my email address in the chat. So if you think of additional questions in the future, feel free to email. I know, Jeremy, you had a multifamily scenario. So if you wanted to email separately about that, happy to entertain it. So anyone can feel free to reach out.
Okay, so it sounds like we are ready to wrap. I'll grab this chat. I'll share it with Barry. We'll work on, we can email it out. Why not? Because sometimes people forget. As soon as you close Zoom, poof, goes the chat. So no problem. And this will be on a YouTube channel for full video playback for anyone you want to share this with who might also be in Connecticut interested. So thank you again. Appreciate everyone's time tonight. And thank you to Stepwise for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Really nice
Likewise,
to meet you.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.